Hi everybody! I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you're all smiling and enjoying your lovely day. In this following tutorial, I'm going to be showing you on how to convert any 3D model in Blender into MMD for PMX Editor. Now, this is a remake tutorial of an old tutorial I made because I've noticed I've gotten a lot of messages through the past year of basically people struggling on the old version of the tutorial. So I'm going to be making this version to hopefully not only re-elaborate the process of it, but I'll also be showing you what will you do after you do it, because some people still got confused of how do you register a texture and other stuff like that. So I'm going to be going a little bit more in depth, but do keep in mind this is more of a general guide per se. I will be making more tutorials on specific stuff, like how do you manually average a byte, how you do the IKs, and other stuff, so do understand that. But this tutorial, while I will be going over the process for the more manual conversion, this is not a beginner-friendly tutorial either. This tutorial will be a lot more of a hassle because you'll have to, again, not only do you have to convert your model into PMX, you also have to recreate a lot of things. Like, you have to re-register your textures, you'll have to clean up the model, because if you're using an XNA Lara model, they're really messy. You have to clean them up. They're not that, they're messier because they have facial rig and extra bones. Not only that, you also gotta add IKs, rigid bytes, translate the bone names to Japanese and the morph names to Japanese. Like, there's a lot to an MMD model. MMD is easy to use, but when you're trying to convert from scratch, it may not be too easy for beginners. It does take time. Now, if you want the most easiest method, right? You want the most easiest method of preparing an MMD model, like from, a from scratch model or a pre-existing model that you want to put in the PMX editor because you can't find them all elsewhere, I would recommend the VRM to PMX editor, the PMX file method. In the description below, I have in the description there are 2 tutorials. One of them is going to talk about the 3 different methods. Let's say if you're a Void user, for example, there are 3 methods on converting your Void model into PMX. There is also the Unity method. So let's say the 3 programs I've talked about that does auto conversion doesn't work. You can check out that method for the Unity version, which I actually use that Unity method not for myself, but for most of my friends who ask for an MMD model conversion with their VR models. I actually use that method the most. But even with those methods, I have also gotten told they don't work either. So this method is kind of a last resort, if I'm going to be honest. Otherwise, you could try again, or maybe try with a different PC, but even then, it gets into hassle. This is 3D we're talking about. It's not easy. But I will try my best to guide you through this. Now, besides disclaimers, what we're going to do first and foremost, I'm gonna go into my browser here, and I'm gonna show you what are some things you're going to need, basically. So that's the first thing, and then I'm gonna show you the process of how it's done and go from there. So here in Blender, you will need this program. Now, if you want to use Maya or a different program, you can, but this is a Blender tutorial. I'm not gonna go over how Maya works. I believe there's an MMD plugin for Maya, but I don't know how it works. So we're focusing on Blender. This program is free, and if by any chance Blender is a bit too, let's say it's a bit too much on your PC, you can always download an older version, and especially with 4.0, I don't know why Blender keeps doing this. They keep breaking plugins. So if you're like, let's say a VR chat user and you want to use a Cat's Blender plugin, Blender 4.0 broke Cat's Blender, so do keep that in mind. So you can download Blender here, you can download 4.0. I'm going to be using the 4.0 version just for the sake of new users, but in order to get older versions of Blender, which again, if you're 3.5, 2.8, the information still applies. Just because you have a different number doesn't mean it doesn't apply, but we're going to be going over this. So you can download 4.0, or you're going to go into previous versions. You're going to download any Blender, and then this looks confusing, like what the heck is this? But this is where you can actually download any version of Blender. So you can use, a lot of people from like the old, from older times, they actually tend to use 2.79 because the UI reasons and from jumping from 2.79 to 2.8 is a big hurdle for some people. So I do see some people using this version. I would recommend, personally, if you want like something that would probably work with the, for most stuff, you can use the LTS version of 3.6. I have 3.5, but you can choose either these two, basically whichever. You can just use any version under 3.6. That's basically it. But best recommended, just stick with 3. Just stick with 3.6. Honestly, just download that if just to make your life easier. That's it. But basically, that's where you can get like an older version of Blender if you need to, especially if you're a VR chat user. Otherwise, though, if if you don't use 4.0, or if you don't use an older version, you can use 4.0. And basically, besides that, if you are a VRM model, right? Like, let's say you're converting your VRM model to PMX, the Unity method and the program that I've show in that one video doesn't work out, then you can use then what we're going to need, if you're a VRM user, a VRM model, you're going to be needing this version. You're going to need the VRM Blender plugin. Now they show you all this stuff, like what it can do and all that. But basically here you can download the latest version here, which has recently updated, at least in the time of this video. So you can click here and download. I already have it installed already, but you can download here. This should work with the 4.0, by the way. I've tested it. It works on my end. But it should also work well with older versions if needed. But I don't think 2.79. 2.79 is a big jump. But if you need a version for 2.79, I don't think there's a version for that. You can check past releases if you need to, if needed. But yeah. But either way, though, there's this plugin if you're a VRM user. Now, if you are not a VRM user and you already have the model in Blender, so let's say, you do file, import, and FBX, you could be able to import your FBX here and all that, or GLTF model. If you're an XNA Lara model, you would use a different plugin for that, or DAD Studio. There'll be a different plugin. I don't use those plugins at all. I haven't bothered to study it. But if you are those users, you can use those plugins that are dedicated for that. I don't know if they are updated for 4.0, but you can check, and if they are, you can use 4.0. If not, you can use an older version of Blender for that. Either way, besides needing this, or maybe you don't, we are definitely going to be needing this plugin, the Blender MMD Tools plugin. Now, this has been forked about 3 different times by different users, because sometimes the user may not be able to maintain the add-on. So currently, as of the time being, Uinya is basically the one who is taking care of the plugin. They're releasing newer versions. It may change, because again, this has been forked, I think, 2 other times, but do keep an eye out. They will put a message on the top or something if someone else took over for the plugin. But otherwise, though, for the time being, Unya is the one that's taking care of it. Now, if let's say for instance you want to download, you can click on the release here, and you can actually download. So if you are, let's say, 3.6, 3.5 of Blender, or even 2.8, I believe, you can be able to download the plugin right here, and I'll show you how to install the plugin, but you can download here. If you are a 4.0 user, you will have to download from here. So for me, as a 4.0 user, you will have to click on Blender V4, and you will have to actually, instead, you're in the V4 branch right here, you have to click on code and then download the zip. Now, I will say, you don't have to, when it comes to them releasing the 4.0 version, which you'll see when the date here is very recent, or in their message, they'll let you know when 4.0 is supported. But for 4.0 users, you'll have to do it by downloading the zip here, and the installation method should be kind of the same. So yeah, keep that in mind. Kind of the same, but not really, which is kind of annoying. I'll try my best to show you how to install it, because it is a hassle. You see why this method is really much of a hassle, but yeah. Now, besides that, though, I will also let you know, on Learn MMD, this is where you learn all the good stuff here, basically. So this is where all the official tutorials are at, any explanations you need, even, because I will tell you right now, MMD and PMX Editor are no longer being updated. I wouldn't say they're abandonware, I would say they're only abandoned by their creators. But otherwise, though, it's still being maintained by LearnMMD. They're posting tutorials still to this very day, and other stuff. So while MMD is no longer getting updated and PMX Editor is no longer getting updated, at least you can be able to get new tutorials here. So do keep an eye out, but also even the oldest, well, I wouldn't say the PMD tutorials, but there are many of these tutorials, they're not really outdated because, well, MMD is no longer getting updated, so the information does apply. So I recommend if you want to learn about MMD to the fullest, please read these articles. And these articles sometimes have a video version in them, you'll have to take a look. And also, they even have a tutorial here on how to search at LearnMMD, which is actually very great. You can learn how to navigate. So yeah, so there's this one. I will also say before the method, I'm so sorry for a lot of explaining this. I'm really trying to make sure this is done in depth, like very, very in depth. But basically, if you want to learn how a MMD model is prepared, I recommend using the TIDA Miku. You can download it for free. You just go to Bullroll, find the TIDA model. I'll link everything in the description. You can download the model here. This is the actual original model here. Please make sure you credit TIDA. This model gets really rule broken. Like everyone, almost, I wouldn't say everyone, no, just more of a lot of people, they do break the rules of this model. And like, it's a great study model, but sadly just rule broken easily. So all I can say is just try to respect the TIDA's work. And I will also say as well, here's the model here. It's a good study model. Like, you can study with this model, but as long as you credit, not use it for commercial use, no gore, no R18 stuff, or anything, just respect the model. You can be able to use this for studying purposes, so you can see like how the bones are arranged, how the morphs are arranged, which again we'll go in, I'll go over after the conversion, what the heck some of these things are, as much as I can. But you can study with the TIDA model here. It's actually highly recommended because most MMD motions and most other things really rely on the TIDA model. Now, obviously you can still use other models, but most do use TIDA models. And you could call it TDA, by the way. You could call it TDA. I heard it was pronounced TIDA, but whatever. But anyways, that is basically, hopefully that kind of shows you how the whole thing is prepared, basically. But basically, though, the next thing we're going to do, now that I kind of showed you the things that you need, you should have Blender open up. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to install the plugins. Now, in order to install a plugin, you just go to Edit here, you go to Preferences here, you go to Addons, and over here, as you can see, I already have, these are my plugins I actually use. I don't use a lot of them. Well, I mean, there's still a lot, but either way, you would basically click on the install button, and then when you open up a zip file, so give me one moment. So basically right here on File Explorer, you should have your zip file. So for example, the VRM plugin and then the Blender MMD plugin right here. For me, I have V4. So basically, for my case, I believe I would have to actually extract it from the MMD tools here. For some reason, the way that the V4 add-on is, I'm not sure why, but I get a lot of errors when I install this, so it can be a bit of a hassle to prepare. So do be aware that when you're trying for Blender 4.0, you're probably gonna have a little bit of trial and error when installing the plugin, because it'll probably spit out errors. It's gonna try and fight you. But basically, I'm gonna quickly pause here. So basically right here, after that little time skip, basically just showing you that on your program folder in your local disk, this is where I have the add-on installed. It was, again, trial and error with me getting the add-on installed, but basically I would just have to extract or just copy this folder here into the program files Blender Foundation 4.0, 4.0, and so on. Now, if you are 3.5, 3.5, 3.6, 2.8, 2.9, whatever numbers between those, it will be the same thing, except your number here is going to be different. Keep that in mind. So this could say 3.6, 3.5 or something, but this is how you would this is where like you would put the folder. A quick automatic way of doing this, right? You just go to install here, and then I can go into my downloads folder here, and then I can for again when the for 3.6, 3.5 users, you can then install like by clicking on the zip file and just install add-on. That's how you would do it. But just keep in mind for 4.0, just until the official release is there, you may have to probably do it the more manual way for 4.0. But again, it might change. Keep that in mind. Things change with 3D. But I just wanted to at least elaborate that. But you're going to basically, and again, just to show you again, edit, preferences, add-ons, install here, and then you go to your downloads, and then that's where you'll install the MMD add-on here. With the zip code, and then for VRM you would do the same thing, but you would click on this and it should work fine. Now, since I already have it installed, I should have it where for the VRM, you would know that the VRM add-on works if you go to File, Import, and then VRM is here. And then if you press on the N button right here, which I'll go ahead and enable screencast keys here so you can, well, I guess screencast is broken. Haha, 4.0 broke the add-on. Okay, well anyways, I'm just still gonna tell you, like, you know, what. So basically there should be an MMD tab right here, or if you're using Cat's Blender, you should have MMD with it. But basically here on the MMD tab here, this is where you can be able to do your stuff. So it should look like this. You can make it bigger so it kind of makes more sense to you. But basically though, right, this is what we're going to be needing to convert our 3D model into an MMD model, basically. But to start off, though, we're going to actually import our void model in here, just to kind of keep things simple for us, and then we'll do the MMD stuff. So, what we're going to do, right, we're going to do File, Import, VRM, and then I'm going to look at my new folder here. And this is where I have my lovely test chan model. So I'm going to click here. I don't care what version it is, as long as it's a model. I'm going to import VRM model in here. And basically just give it some time for it to process. And as you can see, the model have loaded. And just quickly showing you guys, you can use the scroll wheel to scroll in and out. Do shift and then click the middle scroll wheel to pan around. And that's kind of the main thing you need for camera control, basically. And then you can left click to select stuff, basically. Now, this is where I'm going to heavily elaborate. We're going to talk about the model hierarchy, because you're going to be needing to know how this is. So, first and foremost, these little empty objects right here, this one here that the VR model converted, you can delete this one. So if you're, let's say, an XNA model and you see those like little empties that look like this here on the hierarchy, you can delete those. You don't need it. Now, if it by any chance deforms your model, you may have to do some crazy stuff to fix it, which I can't really elaborate in this tutorial. But basically, though, this is how the hierarchy works. This is the armature of your model. This is basically what, this is what controls the model. You go to pose mode, for example, and you can pose your model however you want. And also, in case you're wondering how the heck did I get this pie, sort of like thing going on here, I'm going to also elaborate to avoid confusion. Basically, I just click on key map and I have tab for pie menu. I have that, just want to elaborate that to avoid confusion. But I can disable it, so it's kind of like, you see what the heck I'm doing. But, basically though, this is the armature. Remember that. And then when you look at this line, you see this dotted line right here? This anything that is like behind this dotted line, this is referring to these parts are connected to this armature. Now these are your mesh. These are your mesh, your objects. This is the face of a Void model, and this is the body of the Void model. And for your models, you may have more, you may have less. Even for Source Filmmaker models, you will have probably a mesh, it may say DMX or anything like that. But this is where your mesh is, and you need to make sure that that in order for the model to operate and properly work, especially as a humanoid model or anything with a bone system or a bone like a skeleton, it needs to have these mesh, these little objects here, right behind this dotted line. Or if there is no dotted line in your version of Blender, at least have it so these arrows, these tiny arrows that are kind of hard to see, you can use YouTube's zoom function on the phone to kind of see if you need to, but these arrows need to be under this little T-posing person right here to know that your mesh is connected to this armature. Now also, just because it's underneath, it doesn't mean it always works. So do remember to click your armature, click on pose mode on the top left here, and double check by clicking on a random bone, pressing the R button and rotate to make sure it works. If by any chance it does something like this, where I'm gonna quickly, please ignore what I'm doing right now. If I do this, right, and I go into pose mode, if it does something like this, that means the model is not working properly. So do remember that you may need to reconnect it, you may have to re-weight paint depending on the case of the model, so just keep that in mind. Now again, I don't want to go over intense how to debug a model in this tutorial. I want to just keep it more towards getting this 3D model from Blender into MMD. But I will say, if you are struggling, let's say for some reason Blender things are not working, you can feel free to comment below or join my Discord server and ask away if you are struggling on the model. I should also have a tutorial on basic weight painting as well if you want to check that out. Again, I have other tutorials in this channel, or you can check out some other tutorials from, let's say, Royal Skies or something. They do have good tutorials I recommend. But either way though, now, besides me going over the hierarchy, because that was very important that I had to mention that, we're going to be utilizing this new knowledge of our hierarchy, real quickly, and we're going to apply it to the MMD plugin. Now, I'm going to move this to the far right here, and I'm going to press on the N button, right? Now, we're going to use Create Model to keep things easier for us. So, how is this done? So you're going to click on Create Model, and you're going to give it names. Now, remember, MMD is a Japanese program, so it will, you don't have to use a Japanese name. You can just name it Test-chan, just copy and paste it here with Control-C. So you can have that. It's very important that you have an English name, because MMD will be reading the Japanese name, but then you can also translate it for English users, basically. Now, you can also set the scaling to any number, but we're going to leave it as default. You can always rescale in PMX Editor later. So you're going to click on OK. This is an empty object. This here, this is basically what, for our case, this is what's going to be exported into PMX Editor. We need it. Now, if you look at the hierarchy real quickly, this is the empty object right here. See? You see how this empty object has this armature here, that single bone? This is basically how we're going to be needing it in this setup, where anything parented to this empty object will be exported. So, this armature here, you're going to press the X button on your keyboard, and you're going to delete that armature. Unless you need it for some reason, like let's say for a prop or some simple object, you're going to delete that because we already have an armature here. Now, this is where my old tutorial messed up on, and I'm not going to elaborate what I messed up on to avoid confusion. But what you're going to do is you're going to just select the armature of your model. And make sure, again, double check, press the G button, and move your armature around to make sure the model is connected. If your model is not doing this, that means something's wrong with your model. and then I right click to release the model. But basically, you're going to select just the armature. You're going to shift left click on the empty object here. You're going to do Control P, right? Then you're going to click on either object or object keep transform. I will go ahead and click on object here. Now what you're going to do is on the hierarchy, because as you can see, this thing is kind of faded right here, right? We're going to click on the armature on the hierarchy and click and drag over here, right? To the empty. Now, as you also notice, this is where the tutorial fricked up on, is that it only had the armature here, but you can see that, again, this is not properly, like connected. So make sure you click and drag and make sure, again, I'm gonna show you again. Remember, armature, shift left click, Control P. You can choose either these two, whichever works best for your model. And then once you choose whichever one, you're going to then basically select your armature or all of this, whichever one, and you need to make sure, right? And again, it can either be just this, the armature, but you gotta make sure these are selected in there too. But you have to make sure that the armature and the mesh, and I'm sorry if I do sound a little rude, I'm very sorry, but you're going to click and drag into the empty object. Now, in order to make sure that your model is properly exportable, you need to click on the empty object and press the G button and move it around. If your model is not following this empty object, something is wrong. Your model is not going to properly export if your model is not following. So for instance, let me see if I can be able to do this real quickly. No? Okay. Basically, if it's like where, how do I say it? Basically, if it looks something like this, where if you're moving the empty object and your model's not following, this is not going to export properly. If it's just the body, right? Let's say it's just the body here, for instance, right? And it does this, right? Hold up. If it does just this means it's not going to export properly. It needs to have everything in the model, the armature, and any corresponding mesh. And I hope that elaborates a little more. This needs to be parented properly. Again, one last time, I really gotta reassure this. Armature, shift select the empty object, Control P, object. In the hierarchy, click your armature. And then click armature and the body, my bad. And the body parts here. Click and drag, from the armature to the empty object, and make sure that under the line, the dotted line right here, for the empty object, that they're all on the right side of this dotted line, and making sure your model is moving. This is a properly prepared model. Now that you have that, then what we're going to do, while selecting the empty object here, what we're going to do now is we are going to export this model into an MMD model, basically. And then we're going to prepare the model in PMX Editor for IKs, Rigidbody, whatever you want, basically. So, under model in the MMD add-on, you're going to click on export. Then you're going to find your folder, right? You're going to create a new folder and you're going to call it my new MMD model. Whatever you want. It doesn't matter with the name. I'm just making the folder so you can follow along easier. What you're going to do, you're going to name your MMD model, I don't know, something. So my MMD model. Whatever you want. If you want to copy the name, I don't care. And then what you're going to do, now I would recommend, depending on your materials, I would definitely say copy textures here, so that way you can actually have it where when you export, the texture should hopefully copy over and make it more easier. Sometimes this is not going to work if you use custom shaders in Blender. It's a downside. It may not always work. but I will still show you anyways how I get the textures loading. You can also click on sort materials, so it can make sure that it renders properly. You could do that. The other stuff is more of like their extras, honestly. You don't really need to touch them, but you pretty much just need this setup. The scaling kind of doesn't matter, but we'll rescale it again. If the model's too big or too small, we can fix that. So in your folder, name your MMD model, use a PMX file, and you're going to export PMX file, right? And then you should have a properly, you should have a message that says that your model exported properly. If you get an error message, that can mean a couple things. One, you probably got the wrong version of the MMD plugin. Maybe your MMD plugin probably corrupted. This is what happened to me with Blender 4.0 when I was trying to install the plugin for the first time. So I'd recommend, if you're going to use an older version of Blender, if you're using the newer version of the plugin and the plugin's giving you issues, you can download an older version or anything like that. Or something. You can always like contact the dev, right? So let me show you. So here on the GitHub, right? This is how you can, report an issue or any bugs that happen. And I recommend them because I don't know every MMD error with Blender, but you can basically report an error like this. So you go to the GitHub of the MMD plugin, you go to issues, right? And here you can actually report an issue. So you can click on new issue here, right? And you can type in your title like MMD plugin gives model not loaded error. I'm just thinking of an error from my head, honestly. Then you would type in what the issue is. You put in a picture and such. This is just giving an example, basically, but I don't have an issue. You can also check through this in case maybe there be an issue that's already reported and that might have a fix. But otherwise, that's how you can actually report an issue or request for any like help if the plugin ends up breaking or something like that, because only this person can help you. Only this person, Uinya, can help fix the issue unless someone took over or anything like that. But keep that in mind. Now, besides that, right? Once we now have, and again, like I said, it really depends on the version of Blender. So I definitely will heavily emphasize, if you're going to report an issue, or even if you're going to report the issue to me, if you want me to help you out, please make sure to specify the Blender version you're on, because that can heavily differentiate what the error is coming from. Either it's coming from 4.0 being, corrupting file, plugins, or it could just be the fact of, something else, basically. But that should literally be how you convert a 3D model from Blender into an MMD model. Now, here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to show you the PMX model, and then I'm going to show you some things that you can do to further make sure that model works with MMD motions. So, one moment. All right, so once you have your PMX model exported, this is something I just noticed in the newer version of the plugin. Now typically when you export an MMD, you export your 3D model into PMX, right? You should have it where the bones would show up, right? Right? But they're not showing up sometimes, as you can see, like where the bones go, right? Again, I could be wrong about this. It could probably be how the model's prepared, but basically with this, we can't see the bones. But however, what the plugin did was they turned them into invisible bones. Now, when it comes to PMX Editor, invisible bones, again, this might get a little bit into advanced vocabulary, but these bones, right, the ones that look like little white circles, this is supposed to be used for, let's say, like a bone's length. Like, it's basically supposed to be on the end of a bone, basically. But it's all over the model. How to fix this, if this is your issue that you get, is that you should go ahead in your PMX editor, right? Click on the bone tab, then do Control A, so select the, you could do Control A. I'm just actually gonna select, Shift select, and that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click on this button that says Viz. this will turn them to be visible. Also, for the sake of the base rig, make sure to disable movement, because you don't want to have it where it's positioned. You really don't. Unless you need to for certain bones, but you don't need movement unless we're talking about other bones, right? So basically, this is how you will be able to activate the skeleton, if that makes sense. I don't know why the new plugin does that. It just does. If that's the issue you happen to get, that's how you would fix it. If by any chance you still do not get an armature at all, that's probably you didn't parent properly. Again, remember, when you select the empty object, you need to make sure the skeleton in the model is following. You know, if you press a G key and it's moving around, this means that it's working fine. If it doesn't happen, that means something's wrong with the model. So sometimes with converting your Blender model or 3D model into PMX Editor, sometimes you'll have it where your model's a bit too tiny or sometimes way too big for the PMX view window. And while, you know, it's understandable, some people may want to have chibi models or some may want giant dinosaur models or something like that. It's also important to note that if your model is too short or too tall, sometimes the model might actually freak out when you put MMD motions on it. You can always edit this in MMD. There are tutorials that go over how to do that. But what I will say is that for most of the time you would want your model to be kind of like about as tall as this Void model here, where it's like not taller than the PMX view, unless it's an environment. But for a character model, you don't want it to be no more taller than the PMX view window. But you also don't want to be too short, like, let's say about the near the ankles of the Void model here. You don't want to be that short either. Again, unless you want to, it's your choice. But let's say we want to rescale them all. So we're going to go into Edit, Plugin, System, and then Size Change Tool. Now here by default the number will be 1.0. Now, it's a little confusing how this little tool thing works, but I'm going to elaborate. So, the number 1.0 is referring to no change on the model. This is your default size. If I were to do 1.0 right now and resize it, nothing's going to happen. How this works is that the lower the number, so basically if the number is less than 1, like a decimal, you have to learn your decimals. So if it's like 0.96 or 0.2 or something like that, it will make your model smaller. Do note that the smaller the number, the more extreme the size will be. So do make sure to start with a small number or a small change of the number, like 0.95, and you can click multiple times to basically make your model smaller. Now let's say if your model is too small by default instead, what you'll do is you'll make this number a lot, more bigger. So it could be 1.05, 1.05, resize it, and it'll make your model bigger. If you make your if you put like a big number for no reason like this, it will make your model a very big really quickly. So it's best to make sure that the number is at least either, if you want to make your model bigger, then I would recommend putting 1.05 and scale accordingly. But if you want your model smaller, then just put 0.95 and then just click until it's to what you want, basically. And that's pretty much how you would scale the model in PMX Editor. We're gonna go over how to prepare this model so it can work with at least MMD motions. Because right now, the model as is, this is not gonna work with MMD. Like, it's in PMX Editor, it could work with MMD, but it's not going to, because the thing is that in order for us to use the typical MMD community motions, we need to make it where it's a Japanese skeleton. The naming has to be Japanese, at least either based off the Anamaza model or, again, Tita Miku, which is the reason why I have Tita Miku here, because I'm going to show you how you can reference Tita Miku to get it working, because that's literally what everybody uses, or not everybody, some people use YYB or Sour Miku or anything like that, but mostly it's Miku models, because MMD stands for Miku Miku Dance. It's Miku's program. But anyways, right? So, what we're going to do, first and foremost, we gotta figure out what the heck went wrong with that freaking texture. OMG. So, basically in my folder, right? I believe I have the files here. Yep. So this texture folder, you need to have these PNG images here. This is what we're going to register in order to bring the colors to our model. If you don't have a textures folder at all, depending on where your model is coming from, right? I will say definitely double check if there's any like textures you're missing or anything like that. Like if it's an XNA LAR model, you should be able to get that export with the model. If not, there should be like ways to do it. So if you're a source filmmaker model, for instance, I know for a fact you're going to need to use the VTF editor program, and you're gonna have to hand convert the I believe you have to hand convert the files, the texture files to I believe I forgot if it was JPEG or TIFF file, but you basically have to manually convert the textures, which is kind of annoying, but that's how you have to do it. Again, it really depends on the how you're converting it. Again, I can't really go over every model type because I only know so much with other programs, but basically though, I'm gonna go ahead and copy this folder, this texture folder, and I'm gonna put it in the folder next to the MMD model, right? Like this. And then what we're going to do, that now it has to be next to the folder because, or the file. So if the texture folder is not next to the PMX file, it will not work. Your thing is not going to load because it's based off of the file path, and it's, you know, it's based off of whatever is right next to the model. So your textures could either be here, you know, all around the place, or it could be in this folder from here. But it has to be next to the file. Remember that, right? So, what you're going to do next, right? You're going to go into the Material tab, and then you're going to have to manually register the textures, which I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to click on this box here, this little green box, and you're going to, here on this texture little saying right here, you're going to go to File, Open Texture, right? Then you're going to click on the text file here, and whatever the material name is for bottoms, these are the pants, right here. You're going to find the texture that corresponds with it. You're going to click on update and so on. And I'm going to, again, we're going to do this real time. So you're going to see me do this on repeat. But as you can see, the texture is loaded. So I'm going to basically just keep doing the same thing. File, open texture. This one is for the top. And again, sometimes you may, let's say, for example, if you don't know what, like, let's say the material's in random numbers or name, like it doesn't make sense, you could just click on like other textures and update it and kind of see if it'll work. If it doesn't look good, that means that's not the correct texture. So you'll have to do some trial and error basically with this. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going basically. And sometimes there may be some materials that you probably may not be able to, let's say, get a texture working on it. Sometimes they'll actually just use a diffuse color. Now the void model should have everything all texture based, which is fine, but basically what we're going to do, if you, let's say, I don't know, let's say the shoes, they don't have a texture, right? And you want to color them. You can use the diffuse and the ambient boxes here, and you can choose the color you want. So you can choose like red shoes. Ambient will just kind of make it even darker. I would recommend for ambient, if you want it to react to lights, do not put it fully, like completely bright colors like this. I would definitely recommend keep it at gray if you can, but you can utilize ambient if you need to. But I'm gonna go ahead though. For most of this, we can have the diffuse like this. But ambient, we want to make sure at least it's gray so it can work with shadows and other stuff, basically. So, just gonna keep on importing here, like so. Body, import. Now we're gonna do hair back. Hair back, her hair is blue. Eyebrows, which is right here. Eyebrows. This is the eyelashes, so here you go. Then the eye iris here. This one right here. then the highlights. We're almost done with this. Highlights. And of course you can skip through this part if it's a little too long or something. Eye lines. So this one's an eye line. Let me double check the model, making sure it looks good. It does. Eye white will be the scleras. And then of course the eye extra will be this. Let me double check the iris. Yeah, it should work. If by any chance, let's say you have this issue where the eyes are not rendering properly or your blush is not looking good, it's recommended too to have it where anything that's transparent or semi-transparent, if you don't know what semi-transparent is, basically it looks like this. So if I were to highlight, right, the pictures, and it has this, like, you see this, like, little box here, right, where, like, it matches the background of my File Explorer, but it has this, like, shaded background like this, if that makes sense. It would mean it's semi-transparent, basically, if there's nothing else surrounding it. This here would be not transparent at all. It's a solid color. This would be semi-transparent because there is the background that matches my File Explorer. Now, just because it matches the background of your File Explorer doesn't always mean that it is, like, let's say your File Explorer has a white color or pink even. Just because it matches the background doesn't always mean it's semi-transparent. You can open up a photo editing program like GIMP. I recommend GIMP because it's free. Or any program. You can open it up, and if there's like that checkerboard background, that means it's transparent. But from these that look something like this would mean transparent. But basically though, what we're going to do, right, now that we loaded our textures, you're going to select anything semi-transparent. So for a void model, it would be the eye line, the eye highlight, iris, eyelashes, eyebrows, these guys, and even the eye extra here if you have it. You're going to press on the B button to move it at the bottom of the list. Then, I believe, let me check. Yeah, so anything that is, so for the void model, the eye highlight needs to be, like, at the bottom. Basically, whatever is at the bottom of PMX Editor here, that means that has the upmost, rendering, I guess. It's, like, kind of like the upmost layer. So this is, like, the top layer, this is the bottom layer of the 3D model, if that makes sense. So that's why we need the transparent parts to be at the bottom. You may also have issues where, let's say, for a semi-transparent object, you have these issues where there's a weird shadow-looking thing going on here. Basically, in order to fix that, you need to disable the S map right here. This S shade right here, this should be, I believe this is shadow casting, like, so S map is like, don't quote me because again it's been a while since I've done PMX Editor, but S map, I think that's like self shadow, and then S shade is kind of like shadow casting from another mesh. So like this won't be shadowy if this is deactivated, but this will self cast a shadow, I think. I don't think so. Typically what I just do is I just disable both shadows basically. For anything that's transparent, and then anything else that's opaque, I leave it to have a shadow. Ground shadow is also important if you want to have like a nice ground shadow here, which I disabled mine. I think your PMX editor might have it and such. And in case you're wondering how the heck I got a dark background, you just go to display panel. I went over this in an old tutorial, but I'll make like a specific one later. But there's this, right? You could just mess with the settings here and then just file save it. But either way, now that the model is very shiny, we don't want a very shiny model. Unless you want that, we're going to turn off the shininess. So select all your materials, set the specular by clicking the button, and set to a black color, and therefore your model is no longer going to be shiny. And also, I need to fix this because, oh my god, we need to set this to be, right here. There you go. There you go. So hair back should also be like near the bottom, like under these guys, or like this. So there you go. We fixed our transparent issues. Our textures have loaded. Here's the problem now. The skeleton, while it's here, right? We have a normal skeleton. It's not gonna work with MMD motions now. And neither will the morphs, because again we have these morphs here, but they're not going to work at all. So basically though, what we're going to do, right? is that we're going to be, now the materials, don't care about them anymore. You don't care about the naming could, whatever. But we're going to be more focused on the bone and the morph. Now for this tutorial, just because it is starting to get really long, I won't be talking about the rigid body or the joint preparation. Well, actually, in a nutshell, literally, if you want a rigid body, you can just go to File, Edit, or File, Edit. You go to Edit, you can go into Bone, and you can create a rigid body or joint and such, but I've already made, like, separate tutorials on, like, how I use, like, how I auto-rig physics. But I will make like a separate dedicated tutorial on how to set up rigid bodies and all that, but you can also look it up on Learn MMD how to set up physics. Again, it's just for the sake of the tutorial. It's starting to get long, unless, yeah. But I just want to at least let you know ahead of time, that's how you set it up, but I will make another tutorial on how to prepare rigid bodies from hand. So keep an eye out for that tutorial. It's just because I don't want to make this tutorial too long, if that makes sense. But basically, though, what we're going to do, right, we're going to focus on the bone and the morph tab, basically. So, basically, we're going to start off with the bones here. Now, we're going to have to manually name these bones. Yes, you heard me correctly. We're going to have to manually name these bones. Now, luckily for the Void model, besides the skirt being there, it shouldn't be too difficult to name it. But for other models, let's say if your model has 500 physics or anything like that, it's gonna be a bit tedious. Now, all I can say is you primarily need to focus on just the humanoid, anything humanoid related. So if you ever mess with Unity humanoids, we're just only gonna focus on anything that's, you know, body limbs. Anything that's physics related, like the chest bone or the skirt, you don't have to name them in Japanese words, or you don't have to translate them or anything like that, unless you want to for organization or organizing purposes. But we're only going to focus on the humanoid skeleton because that is what or at least that's what most of the emotions that the MMD community uses, that's what they're more focused on, the humanoid stuff. But here's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to be using Tia. This is why I recommend downloading the Tia model, and you're going to watch me copy and paste the names, because again, we're referencing, it's okay to reference the Tia model because almost everybody uses the Tia model for the MMD motions. It is okay. As long as you don't steal, like, as long as you don't steal the actual, like, mesh part of the model, right? Like, don't be stealing, like, the mesh parts or anything. It is okay to reuse the name of the bones, because almost everybody in the MMD community uses these bone names. Almost. It depends where the model is coming from and what the person wants to do with the model, but we're going to be using these bones, right? So I'm going to show you step by step on what each bone, right? And again, I'm going to make sure the test chat model is here. So basically, whenever you see, let's say hip bone, right? If you see the bone turning red, that is the bone I am on, but you're going to still see me do it here anyways. So, and again, I will also say as well, before anything, I recommend, because these are English names, and we probably want to keep those, go to Edit, Batch Name Editor, real quickly to preserve the English names. Click this button here, click on Bone, just select the Japanese name here, Control C, go to EN Replacement, and Control V, like this, right? Again, just click here, Control C, and then here, Control V. Then you're going to do, you're going to click on Go, and that way we can have the English names preserved. You could do the same thing with the morphs as well. Personally, I would rename them manually because of how long Void makes it, or depending on where your model came from. Some of them may have very long names for no freaking reason. But, you know, that's just how it is. So, basically though, now that we kind of preserved the English name to avoid confusion, I'm going to go through step by step on the renaming process. So, this bone right here, again, you gotta keep an eye out for this, because especially if you don't know Japanese, this can probably be very confusing, but this is necessary for the manual conversion of MMD. I'm not even kidding. If you try to skip this step, I just wish you good luck. But we're gonna do hip bone. This is hip bone here, and then we're gonna do it here. So this is a Japanese name for hip bone. This is for the upper spine, right? So we're gonna look at this symbol. And again, this is why I'm saying look at the TIDA model. The TIDA model will help guide you. So this will be going into the spine bone. This one, but with a number 2 on it, will be the chest bone. Now the void model has 3 spine bones. For the upper chest one, you could literally just copy the same name, but change that last one to a number 3 instead. Or if you have 8 spine bones, again, the same rule applies. You can name it 6, 8, whatever you want, but we're gonna just do 3. For the root bone, right, this root bone here is going to be the mother bone here. So this name, so you could just copy that. Skeleton, do we have 3? We can delete this one, honestly. You could delete that one, at least for my case. But we have that. Then, right here, I believe this is referring to the chest bone of the TIDA model. Yep, that's a chest bone. So, because the void model has chest bone, you would copy accordingly. If you don't have a chest bone, you don't have to worry about it. I believe it's here. Yep, so this one is the left one. But this one's right. So, I will say this too. This symbol right here, this symbol here is referring to left. And this symbol with a box under, like right here, this means right. So do keep that in mind. This means left, and this means right. So, I'm gonna go ahead and just copy these names here. So this is left 2, this is the right one. And again, just study how I'm like copy and pasting the names, and then you'll get the idea. If you still don't get the idea, I can only just wish you luck again still. Or again, there's the easier methods down below in the description. But, okay, so this one is the neck bone here, right? That's a neck bone. So we're gonna do this neck and paste that. Head bone, which will be this one, right? Then what we're going to do is we're gonna find the eye bones. The eye bones, again, the way that the model is prepared, there is no eye control. We're gonna, again, make that from scratch. I'll show you how to do that. Because again, we're gonna focus on the bones, morphs later. So, eye bones. The eye bones should be, I believe it's right here. So this is the eye bones. Now, Miku has, the original Miku does have these extra ones here, but we're not going to worry about that. We only want this one. So this is right eye here. And then left eye right here. I will also say as well, by the way, the Learn MMD website also has, what is it? Let me see. Naming. There should be an article, I believe, on how to name the rig. I don't remember what the article name was, but somewhere there was the bone names. Also, by the way, for DAZ Studio models, as you can see, there is a tutorial here, just letting you know. Again, I don't remember the exact name, but I do remember there is a tutorial in here that shows you how, and again, that's why there's this search MMD tutorial that kind of just shows you how to look it up, right here. But basically, or you can look up on Google, basically there should be not only a Learn MMD article, but also a DeviantArt tutorial as well that goes over the naming of the skeleton, basically. So if let's say what I'm doing is like too like long and just annoying, then you can always check that out and, you know, do it without my audio. So right here, this is the right arm. This is for right, not that one, this one. This one here is right shoulder. So we're gonna need to go to the right arm, I believe here, right shoulder, and we're gonna name that. Then right upper arm will be that. Now these are twist bones. We're gonna auto-generate these twist bones, by the way, so don't worry about that for now. But right lower arm is right there. Then right wrist looks like that. Right hand. And then we're gonna do it for the left one as well. So, scroll down here, left shoulder, not shoulder P. These are referring to the controllers, basically. So left shoulder, upper arm, then you have lower arm, then you have the left hand, and there you go. So far, we're doing pretty good. We're gonna do the finger bones last because it's probably gonna be the most annoying one. But what we're going to do is we're gonna do the legs next. So the legs should be not here because these are like the physics. The legs should be right up. There's somewhere here. It should be orange. That's the tie. That's a hair eye case. Here it is. Yeah, so there's a lot of orange here, but it's right here. So this is referring to the right upper leg. So right upper leg. Right lower leg. And then this is the right foot here. I believe there should be one more bone for the toe somewhere here. I think it's this one actually, this one here. So let me double check with Miku. Is that supposed to be the toe bone? Gizmo. I think yeah, it is. It was just an empty bone. Okay. But then they have these. Okay. But technically that I believe technically that was supposed to be it in terms of the IKs. So we'll just name it, I believe? No. I'm double checking. I think we could just, yeah, for the time being, yeah, we'll just copy this name. Yeah, let's just copy it just to avoid more confusion for me. But I know that this ending, this symbol here means end. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be this or just this, basically. I don't remember. I can check later after this. But yeah, but there's that. I believe there's also end bones too. Yeah, there's end bones, which I can always just, you don't have to name the end bones, by the way, here. At least for what I'm gonna do. Whoops. But I'm gonna go ahead and just have this. 1 second. So I'm doing shift select, by the way. So the shift select to select multiple bones. You can do control to deselect and such. But I'm just gonna turn these just so I don't have to worry about them later. I'm just gonna turn these into end bones. Like this. Just like that. We don't have to worry about the skirt. The skirt's fine. But, yeah, so what we're gonna do is gonna continue on with this then. So let's find the left leg. So left leg is this one. Left lower leg is this one. And then left foot is this one. So we named the foot. Again, you don't have to name the skirt. The skirt is whatever, unless you want to, but yeah. Now, we're going to then name the finger bones. The finger bones are a lot more tedious. Oh boy. But we're going to do it. So, the thumb bone, right, we're going to do the thumbs first. So this is the right thumb bone. It's going to be a 0. It starts with a 0. Which is going to be number 1. So our number 1 thumb is going to be the 0 bone. And then we just kind of go down from there. So this will be 1 and then 2. Because how Tita names the bones, it's because our thumb, the bone closest to our wrist, that's that's just kind of like the main controller of that bone. So, alright, so this is the thumb. This one, the one that looks like this symbol right here, this is a pinky bone. So we're gonna go ahead and we can also, again, if you're confused about like a bone by any chance, you can always check the Miku hand to double check and re-verify if it is the right bone. So this is a pinky bone, so it will be the little bone here, right? So we're gonna do this. And then this one right here is the ring finger. So ring finger is this one. Just copy and paste the naming like so. And then this one is the middle finger, right? Middle finger. And then last one will be the index finger here. So right index finger. Like so. Now that we have that, now we have to do it for the other, side. So it will be this one here. And we just repeat. So this one will be the sum 0, sum 1 here, which is technically our number 2, and then our number 3 is the second bone. This is a pinky bone here. Right, so. And then after we do this, the next step we're going to do is we are going to then, which is the most crucial part, is we're going to create the IK bone so we can have our legs moving properly. And then we're going to generate the extra bones that we'll need, like the twist bone, so our arms can move properly with MMD motions. Because it depends how you animate the model, but a lot of times it's recommended to like utilize twist bones, of course. Again, if you're brand new to if you're brand new to 3D, there may be some words you may not understand. Basically, twist bones, we're referring, it could be like on the legs too, I have it on my legs, but these are usually our twist bones. This bone right here, this one here, this is kind of the bone that you would have to worry, this is how you can be able to have it where, if you IRL, right, you take your hands and you just shake your wrist around, right? You would notice how your lower arm is moving as well, because that's just how the muscles are. That's just how, it's not even just your muscle, your actual bones. That's just how they move. So that extra bone right there, it helps give you a more natural movement to your arms, basically. That's what it's for. But, we're gonna go ahead and continue so I can hurry up. So this one, will be 1, 2, and then 3. Now that we have that, we're gonna do, this is the middle one, so 1, 2, and then 3. Now that you have that, last one, which is our index finger, 1, 2, and then 3. Alright? Alright, so now we should have it where most of our bones are translated. And just to quickly show you, I just want to quickly demonstrate this. You don't have to do this, because we're not done yet. I'm going to do file, open this file here. So basically, just to show you, you can see how, like, the model is working, but the legs and the body, they're not, like, moving properly, because we're lacking the correct, controller bones, so that's why the model's looking a little silly. For the movement bone here, though, right, this is supposed to actually be the move here, so this bone here, if you have a controller bone, which is basically just, right now it's the hip bone parented to this. We'll go over the other bones, basically. But, basically, this is supposed to be the control bone. It's supposed to have that movement. Basically, yeah. And even with that, it uses a different bone anyway. So we have to add that missing bone. And also it uses we also need to add a waist bone such. Again, we're missing some lower body bones, but you can at least see how you can kind of see how, like, hey, it's somewhat working, but it's not perfect. We need to add the extra bones that most MMDers use, or otherwise what TIDA model has, basically. So, with that, what we're going to do now, right? Before anything, we need to add the IK bones. And then once we add the IK bones, things are going to get a lot more easier for us. And the IK bones we're more worried about are these two, the one at the toe and one at the ankle. Once we have that, we should be able to add, our twist bones right after, and any extra controls that we might need to utilize. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. So, what we're going to do is, I'm going to have to show you how to reference the TML. So this is going to be a little bit of, because I can't really do this by memory, but I'm going to still show you how it's prepared anyways. So you know, like, how to make the IKs. So, we're going to be at the bottom, right? Now, what we're going to do, right, while referencing T the model, right, like this, what we're going to do is we're going to select these bones here, right? These two. And then what we're going to do is we're going to right-click them. Right-click... Actually, I think we can only do this one at a time. So what you'll do, you'll have to copy one of the bones, and then you're going to duplicate, basically. So we have the right foot here, duplicated. So we have that one. I would just name this right now. I'm just gonna quickly name this IK, but that's not the right name for it. So we have that one, which is the left one, the left foot, and then we have the right foot that we need to duplicate. So right click, add, duplicate. I'll just name this IK just temporarily. So we need to have it, I'm gonna have it where the IK is on the top. So we're just gonna click this button. And we'll have these as our IKs, because that's basically where the original, like, where Tita's IKs are. They're right here on the foot. So this is going to be our IKs, right? So what you're going to do is we're going to then copy the name, right? So here, we're going to copy the name here, and just copy and paste the name. Same with the left foot, like so. So they should be named properly. What we're going to do now is we're going to set as the IK here and movement. So it needs to have all of these enabled. Then we're going to make sure that the deform value is set to 1. And then the parenting, right now, the parenting is going to be a little messy because we do need this extra bone here. But right now, we don't have that extra bone. That could be, I think it could be generated with semi-bone plugin, which I'll show you later. For the time being, we're just going to set it as 0, which is going to be our, the mother bone, just for the time being. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have it where the IK end bone, so the offset, we're just going to set it, like, it kind of depends how you want it. So you can set up, like, let's say -1. Yeah, just have it where this box here is set to 1, basically, like this. So it should look something like this so far, right? Now, what we're going to do, right, and again, we're just referencing the T-Mall setup. So you can literally just copy the values here, basically. So loop will be set to 40, the angle will be set to this number. You can change the angle if you want, depending on your model, but we're just gonna copy whatever Tita has. And then basically here, the target should be the ankle, basically. So for the left one, we need it to be 65 for my case, so 65. And then the other one will be 76, so 76. There you go. And once you have that, I believe the next thing is we have to set up a bone link, right? So the bone link will basically be this. So we need the lower leg and the upper leg for this one. So we'll do lower leg first, and we're gonna start off with the left bone. So take the left lower leg and right click, and then click on copy index. Then, so we're gonna go ahead and copy, according to Tita Miku, we're gonna copy the lower leg. So left leg, lower leg right here, right click, copy index, then go to the left foot IK here, right click here, and then I believe it was copy from index, yes. So it'll be right there. And then we'll also have to copy the other one, which is the upper leg. So upper leg is right here. Right click, copy index, then do the same thing here, copy from index here. So there's 2 of them. Then also note that on the lower leg here, you're going to have to copy these values here. So click here, make sure limit angle is clicked here, and then you just copy the values from here basically, right? And then you're going to basically do the same thing, but for the other foot, basically. So, right foot, right? We could probably, let me see if I can copy index with multiple bones. Just let me see. Right here, copy from index. Yes, you can. So you can select both the upper and lower leg here. And then you could just paste it here as well. Copy from index. And there you go. And then again, just copy the values here. Make sure limit angle is clicked on. Then you just click on this and boom. And besides that, we could probably do a quick test. Let me see. Yeah, it works, but of course we need to bring in the foot here so it can actually work. But yeah, so at least we got something going on. So let's go ahead and make the toe IK, and then we're going to kind of fix up the IKs more with the controller bones. But basically, what we're going to do right now is that with the toe here, right? Basically here. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to double check, right? Because I want to make sure I'm doing this properly. So, right here on, let's say, what was it? Where's the foot? So right here, right, that one was the empty here. Yeah, because this is only just has the foot. And this is the toe bone here, which is the EX bone. So I can always rename the toe bone to an EX if I have to, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'll leave it as is for now, but I might rename it later maybe. But alright, so let's go ahead and we're gonna create the toe IKs because we need to prepare that. So toe IKs, right? We're gonna go ahead from the Void model or wherever your model is. You find your toe bones, which looks like these 2 here. And then you're going to go ahead, I'm going to right click and I'm going to add, duplicate, or just do Control D on your keyboard to replicate it. So I believe that's the right one, right? Let me double check. Yeah, I believe, yeah, because it's on the toe here, so it would be that. So Control D, right? And we duplicate this one. So we select the ones that are newly duplicated and we move it up here. And then we're going to make them our new IKs. So in this one, we'll have both the offset, I believe it's -1 here. Yep, like so, to match Miku's. And then we're going to set the parent of these IKs to these IKs here. So this one will be set to 62, which this one, 62. And this one will be set to 61. So these will be parented, which is right here, parented, over here. We'll set the deform from these bones over here to 1, right? And then I'm going to copy and paste these numbers on the T to Miku. Again, I'm literally showing you how to copy from T to Miku, but also like not like steal, just, you know, basically making it work. Alright, so what you're going to do now is, now that we have that and we set the deform, we're going to then set up the target. So the target will basically be our, basically kind of like what we just copied. So this one right here, I am always, also before I do that, let me change the names because the names have to be different. So hold up. So that's the left, hold up. So I need the right foot here, right? and then left toe IK here. Yeah, so just copy and paste it. So basically, for the right foot, we need to set the target here to this guy right here. So 79. And then for the left foot, it's going to be 68 for this one. But again, don't copy the numbers I'm inputting. Look at the name of the bone, not the number. I'm putting the number because of the void model. For you, you may have different numbers. Like the loop and the angle, you can copy these numbers. Target, you can't because you have to go based on the bone name. All right, remember that. Don't get confused. But yeah. So basically, once we have that, now we're going to copy the foot here. So right here, on the foot itself, we're going to copy the index here. So copy index. So left foot to the left toe. Copy from index, and then here we don't have to set any angle limit or anything like that. We just copy, and then we'll do the same thing. So the right foot here, we're gonna right click, copy index, then the right IK, and then copy from index, and it should look something like this. I'm gonna double check. Yeah, so here you go. Now, as you can see, the IKs should work properly. And of course, you can, if you need the toe bone, you will, let me see if I can grab this one here. Just want to make sure. So if I go here and I grab it, I can be able to move it, right? Yeah, so I can. So I can still be able to like pose the toe bone if I have to, but still retain the normal IK and then the toe IK right here, which is supposed to look like this. So this is correct, right? So this is how you should have the IKs be. And if it's broken in any way, I recommend, because again, that was a lot of steps I had to mention, but I recommend take your time, retrace your steps. You can check out Learn MMD or DeviantArt as they go over IK stuff, but what I showed should hopefully work with other models as long as you reference the TITA model. And again, reference the TITA model. This TITA model literally has answers. This is what the MMD community uses. You gotta use this Miku model, basically. So that's basically how you would set up the IKs. Now, we still are, besides the IKs, now that we have that, we need to set up the last part of our bones, which is our twist bones and such, and then we will have to set up these two bones here, our groove bone, and then I forgot what people call the other one. Like, this is a mother bone here, and then I think it's called center bone. Basically, there are two controllers here that they basically, honestly, they just do the same thing, but they're still good to have, for like a. It kind of depends on how you animate the character, but it's still good to have like multiple controller bones, if that makes sense. But there's like 3 types basically. They're both good, or they're all good. So basically, we need to make these bones right here. This bone here, by the way, in case you're wondering what the heck is this bone, technically, from what I've heard, this is supposed to be a camera bone, where it's in the center. It literally has no weight paint, nothing. It's just there, and you could use it for like camera related stuff, which not many people really use often, but some people do. It's still, I guess it's just still like a nice extra bone to have. Like literally, in order to make this bone, all you just have to do is just you just add a new bone and just name it that and add this, and then just put it on the top by pressing T. You're kind of done. That's literally what this bone is. It's just that. But we're gonna go ahead though. Before we do the semi-bone stuff, what I want to do is we're gonna make these bones here by hand, these guys, and then I'm gonna show you how to auto-generate the twist bones. Now, let's go ahead and just keep it easy for ourselves. So let's make these 2 bones here. So I'm just gonna go ahead, right click on the mother bone here, and I'm just gonna duplicate it twice basically, and then I'm just gonna copy Control C, and I'm just gonna copy their names basically. And then what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of copy how their parenting is for the bone. So here, they put 1.4, but it might be a different number here. So this is the one that has to go all the way high up. So 8, 2. So it has to be like mid-thigh basically. So there's that. This bone should not have anything yet. Actually, this bone should be connected to, I believe, the second. No. I'll just leave this offset for now. Right, let me check. Okay, it's supposed to be connected to the second bone, so 2. Alright. Then this one is parented to the first bone. Then we have this one. Basically just copying the values manually. And then this one has it set to 8. Basically. And then this one, I set mine to 1, but you can set it to a higher number, or maybe 2. I'll set it to 2 for mine. So yeah, so there you go. And then what we'll need to do is we're gonna make a waist bone. This waist bone, like, is definitely also important. How do I say it? The waist bone helps kind of control, it's like being able to rotate the entire spine and the hips, I guess. It's like a different placement of anchoring the movement, if that makes sense. It's important to have. So I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this. Doesn't, again, need any like this doesn't need weight paint. We're just copying, pasting, so it's fine. So basically we set this one to 3, and then I'm just going to have this value, so they have it negative 0.6, and this one is 0.6, like that. I'm going to use a gizmo to place it on the model. Should look like this. So this is the waist bone, right? So now that we have that, I think I might make it higher. Whoops. Well, there goes the waist bone, I guess. 0.6. I wonder where... Okay, it ran off here. Alright. I'll just leave it alone so it doesn't teleport. Alright, so... I'll just put it right here, right? It's supposed to be there, just like Tita Miku's. Tita Miku is right here. So basically, what we're going to do now is we're going to, let's see, we're going to check the parenting now of it. We could manually make these 2 bones here, but semi-bone plugin, I think, auto-generates these, so we don't have to worry about it now. If we have to, I can show you how to make it. But basically, let's see. So here needs to, the IKs here need to be parented to the mother bone. That's fine. We need the upper spine here. So this spine bone here. We need this parented to the waist bone. So set that to 4. And this one is set to, make it sure. So this is the third one. Which should be parented to the second one. Second one should be parented to this one. And then the hip bone will be parented to that waist bone, basically. So set that to 4. Alright. And now that we have that, I believe we can quickly test. Real quickly. Open motion here. But as you can see, now it actually moves properly. However, you may notice the arms are still fricked up. That's because the model's in a T pose. We need an A pose, which I'll show you how to do that last step. That's the last step we're gonna do. So for now, the arms will be fricked up, but you can see how the bottom legs are now moving properly, basically. This is what you want, basically. I mean, I'd recommend have the feet separated, but again, we'll worry about that later. But either way though, there you go. Now the next thing we're gonna need is we need to prepare the twist bones. And then once we do twist bones and such, adding any extras, again, we just at least want to get them all working. There'll be extra stuff I will go over. So hold up. So we're gonna actually do the twist bones first. Because there is one thing I have to say, which we're not going to worry about for this tutorial, because I don't want to overcomplicate any further than I have already had. We're going to go into Edit, Plugin, and this should come with the English version of PMX Editor. If not, you can always download it, but it should come with PMX Editor anyways. Is the semi-standard bone plugin here. You can click on PMX here, and you can have this. So you'll have this here. You can be able to add any extra bones here, if needed. So that way you can actually be able to, like, you know, in case your model's missing some stuff, you can utilize it. But the one thing we're going to keep this selected is the foot debone. So this is referring to, now, there is no official acronym for the name, but I'm going to call it detail and extra bones. They look like this. The reason why these bones exist are for FK reasons. So there's IK and FK. IK is basically a bone controller that does chain stuff. FK is the individual bones. So it's supposed to allow that, but we're not going to go over this. I will have a separate tutorial about what the heck these bones are and how you prepare them. But just to avoid, also as well, because the way that this plugin does it, it really does not do justice for the toe bone. So that's why we're gonna avoid these bones for now, just to keep it simple. Plus, you should be fine for the most part. Not many people really use these bones. I say not many, but personally I do, but we're just gonna ignore it for now. It's still gonna make the detail bones. Let me double check. Yeah, it's still gonna do that. Let me see if I can try and deactivate it. It's fine if it still does it. I can show how to fix it. Let me see here. So, twist bones, hand twist, that. I'll say for now, let's just disable toe bone. Yeah, toe bone and IK. Yeah, there you go. So it's not gonna appear, so that's how you can disable the detail EX bones. Like I said, you can add it if you want, because sometimes they'll actually work fine with your model, but sometimes they'll break the toe bone, and when you move your foot around, they'll have a weird stretchy look. There's a way to fix it, but just to keep it simple, we're just going to avoid it for now. But basically, once you have the plugin, you just, you know, do that. It should generate twist bones for you, right? Like this. This is normal. It will also generate the extra IK bone here, which is what we'll need. So there you go, right? We'll worry about the T-posing in a little bit, because what we're going to do next, because now that your model should almost be MMD ready, besides it being T-pose probably, or unless you're already A-pose, but besides this still being stuck in T-pose, what we'll need to do, right, is we need to do an eye controller, because MMD models uses an eye constraint. This is an eye controller. Blender artists would call this an eye constraint, whatever the heck. But we need to make this bone here. And then we will need to make, we'll then have to make the morphs, which we could just rename the morphs of the Void model, if you have any. So we will do that, basically. So, next thing, eye controller. So, we're gonna make a new bone here, right? And you're gonna basically just copy this name here, which looks like this. Again, I'll also leave in description the, if I can find that tutorial or guide on the Japanese name for MMD models, in case you're struggling to copy paste, but again, please download the TITA model. But basically there's that. We're gonna basically have it, so we're gonna, you can go ahead and click on this and just keep moving it up until you find the eye bones. I'm just gonna quickly, like, select this stuff here real quick, just so I can just kind of move all this down at once. So I'll just do that, control select here, and then press the B button to quickly, like, move it down, so this can do it up like that. So the eye bone, now TITA has it where it's underneath. I personally recommend to have it on top like this, I think. I'll make sure I double check, but basically here, right? So the eye bones, they can still be parented to the head, that's fine. This is supposed to be just a constraint. So basically what we'll need to do is we take the left eye bone, right? And we're just gonna copy, I wouldn't. Yeah, well, I don't think we have to copy these settings per se, but we'll just do this. Set the parent here to 11 or to the ibone that we just made, wherever the number is. I believe this one, the deform is set to 2 because of the control. I'm gonna double check before I set the deform value. Set local axes here. Let me see. Set this. So this will be a little bit messy. I do apologize in advance because again, been a while since I've done this. But basically, I'm just gonna do the same thing with the other eye here, right? Making sure they have like similar settings. I'm gonna set this eye bone here. That's like down there. I'm gonna move it upward above the head. And then I'm gonna set this eye bone to be, let's see, not that one. Set this one to be -1, so it's like this. And then on transform view, I can double check how it acts. So there you go. This is what we want. So we don't have to do the extra work that Tita Miku has. We just need to do that. So basically just taking the eye, set the rotation to be constrained to this eye bone here. Then you just enable local axes. You don't have to touch the values. It's fine the way it is. I believe also some models have it where this is the ratio. I think, cause I've seen some models set to 0.5. Yeah, so basically, if you want less movement for the eye, right? Like, let's say with the eye bone it moves way too much, or if like, let's say, like if you want the eye movement to move a little less so it's not as sensitive, you can set the ratio to be a lower number, and it will allow the eyes not to move as much. This is pretty good if there's like motions, because this happens so much where some people will animate the eyes for a certain model, but then some models will have it where the eyes will just literally do this, like very easily, because some motions are made for models where their eye range is bigger. Some models may have a more smaller eye range, which Roy models may need a more smaller eye range. But yeah. But there you go. That works. Now, besides that, so now that we got the eye bone working, now what we're going to do now is we're going to then, how do I say this? We're going to then go to the morphs, and we're gonna set a few blend shapes. I'm not gonna do all of them. But we're gonna set a couple, which is very important. I'll say this. It's very important that before you import your MMD model into, which I probably should have said this earlier, but I'm saying it now, is that before you import your model into MMD or PMX Editor, I highly recommend make sure that the blend shapes do have the compatible, like you have vertex blend shapes that will be compatible with the MMD one. You can reference Tita, because again, most people use the Tita model or Lot Miku, but mostly Tita. You can reference the Tita Miku's morphs, otherwise known as blend shapes. You can reference them, and you can like copy the naming or something like that. I mean, still make it unique, because again, your model's probably different. But basically, just take a look at the morphs. You don't need all of them. I'd say the most important ones are probably anything with the eye blinks here, and at least the vowels here. You mainly just need these if you want to at least have something basic. If you do want more expressiveness, because again, depending on the animator of said blend shape, then you probably, or not blend shape, motion, then you'll probably need more of the morphs here. But again, reference Tita Miku, it would probably be the best example. But I'm just gonna keep it simple, and I'm just gonna copy and paste it just for the vowel keys. That's all I'm gonna do. Just to keep it simple, I'm not gonna rename all this. I've already renamed the bone names because that was crucial. The morphs I kind of half care about. But anyways, you basically just do this, copy and paste it to wherever it is. If you're confused of what a particular morph does, you can always go to transform view with the T button, on Tita Miku, zoom in on the face with the scroll wheel, and then you can take a look, click on the morph, and then click on the slider to kind of see what that morph exactly does. And then you can look back at your own model in transform view and kind of like click a random morph and see like what it does, basically. So this one does this and that. So you can reference and then just kind of like rename from there, basically. Alright, but I'm just gonna have just the vowel keys, and then I'm just gonna have simple blinks and winks. So we'll do that. So I blink here. And then these are the winks here, so I'll set this to L. Then R. Then I'll set the smile blink, which, because the Void model does have that here. And then number 2 is the joy blinks here. Setting it up here. So I'll just set it like that, basically. I'm not sure why Tita made it where this symbol is more squished. Usually what I do, just because I don't know because of how Tita set it up. I believe you can just duplicate this one, because some motions will have it as the original squish one here. Some will have it where it's the big value, so you could have that. But basically though, you can just name it however you want according to Tita, however you want. And what you can do too is you can organize these too. So if it gets a little confusing or hard to tell what is what, anything that's like eyebrow related, so you can see it's labeled as eyebrow, you can set it to be green for eyebrow. Anything eye related can be set to blue on the panel, and anything mouth related here can be set to the pink, which is mouse. This one will be set to eye right here. Air kit, I don't care right now, but yeah. So basically you could do that, name it however you want. I'm just showing. So yeah. But at least if I were to go ahead right now, if I save this, I'm gonna go ahead and copy this name here. And basically go here. VMD view. Go here, open. Click the file path, do that. And there you go. Then, as you can see, the morphs actually do start working. So there you go. And then the mouse actually moves. So this is like something basic. Again, I recommend do more of the Tita morphs, basically. So that way, it can actually work much more expressively. But this is at least basic, if you just at least want to get it working. Now, besides that, the last, at least, issue. Now, again, like I said, the physics, you can just set up on Bone, Rigid Body. Again, I'll make a separate dedicated tutorial on that. But the next and last thing would be fixing the darn T-pose, because what the heck is this? So, what we're going to do, right? Now, this is the part where we can probably say goodbye to Tita Miku for now, for the time being, so we can say bye-bye Miku. But again, I would recommend you keep Miku in your heart, because I definitely will say you probably might need to reference her multiple times, and that's okay. But basically what you're going to do, right, is you're going to go to transform view in order to fix the T-pose, right? I'm going to go ahead and click the reset button, making sure everything's resetted here. We're going to take the arm bone. So go to your little bone panel here and find the arm bone, which looks like this, right? And all you need to do is click and drag the Z button here, this one here, and just basically make it a pose, basically. It doesn't have to be, I mean, I recommend like at least somewhat 45-degree angle, but it just has to look like this or something. And then you can press on invert P. So as long as you name the bones properly, you just mirror it, and that's about it, pretty much. Like, if you want to make it more perfect, reference Tita Miku. Otherwise, this is literally all you have to do. Then you do File, Save Model. I'm just going to name this as 1, just in case I break it. So I'll name that. And then there's going to be Vertex Morph Threshold. I usually just put it to 0, but you can leave it as default. And then what you're going to do is you're going to load the new PMX file you made. So I'm going to press open the new PMX file, and there you go. Now it's actually in A pose. So that's like in case your model was T pose originally. This is how you can kind of force it. So yeah. Now, one extra last thing before we test in MMD itself, we need to go to File, PMX Info, and then click deselect the circle button here. As you can see, there is an error. Now, again, there could be multiple errors that can happen, right? There are multiple errors I can go through, but this is, I'm not going to go through, like, what each error does, because, one, some errors you'll probably never get, or ones that are, like, really rare. But this is very good to make sure that if you have any errors, it would mean that it'll probably have issues with MMD. So very important, check PMX info at all times. There should be a tutorial on DeviantArt that literally goes over in depth of how to fix the issues. I recommend, I'll leave the resources at the description. But for this issue, this is unregistered. This is where the display panel will be. Display panel is very important because if you're going to be keyframing the bones or the morphs, you need to have your bones register in display panel in order for it to register. I personally recommend to have it very organized. Like, let's say you have this as upper body, and then lower body or something like that. Basically, organize it to what makes sense to you, and you should just add your bones however you want it. Now, for me, I'm just gonna be like an I don't care, because all I just want to do is slap MMD motions. So I'm just going to basically, just because I'm a little lazy on this, I'm just going to open up Auto Clicker. I'm just going to do this, and then I'm just going to, I should actually be a little careful with that. And then I'm just gonna spam this entire thing in one grab. Again, I don't recommend doing this, it's just I'm lazy right now. So, I'm just gonna do this, let it do its magic here. You do not need auto clicker, like I said, for you. I recommend please organize it. Do not do what I'm doing right now. But, it's like whatever for me. So, have that registered. And then you can have here, so click on this button here, and you can set this to morph. And again, I'm going to do the same thing, just, at least for the morphs, right? You don't need to have them, you don't need to have different groups for it, unless you want to, I guess, but they should pretty much go in this tab here. I put all my morphs in here anyways. But for the bones, I recommend have them as separate groups, so yeah, whatever. Alright, and then you just click on inspect, and then the error's gone, basically. So, there's that. But I'm gonna go ahead and Control S, save the model, right? And now, once we have all that mess taken care of, we're gonna open up MMD. And before anyone asks, there is a tutorial that goes over how to change the color of your MMD. It's just how it is. I'm not gonna stick with the default color of MMD. I mean, I kind of want to change it to blue, but whatever, I guess. Pink makes it stand out, I guess. But if you're wondering why my MMD is pink, you can look up a tutorial on how it's done, or I'll just link in the description so you can see it yourself. I've had many people kept asking about my pink MMD. Please do not mind it. But we're going to load our avatar with model manipulation. I'm going to load my model, and I'm just going to click on OK. And there is my model right there. There you go. Now you're going to do File, Load Motion. I'm going to go through my file here. Go to this motion. Click Continue. Give it some time. And then boom, chakalaka boom. Your model shall now be MMD compatible. Now, yeah, there probably will be clipping issues. I recommend just deleting the inner vertices, which I'll make separate tutorials about, like, more debugging stuff, like, oh, why is the skirt being stupid, why is there clipping issues, why is my morph glitching out. Like, again, this gets into territory that's, like, not beginner friendly because it's 3D. 3D can't be as easy sometimes. It can be, sometimes it can't be. But either way, at least for this case, you can be able to use MMD with your new model, basically. This is, like, kind of in a nutshell how you'll prepare it. again, there are a lot more issues I could talk about in regarding to MMD, like how you prepare English names, how you do batch editing with your names, how do you actually prepare the display panel, how do you prepare physics properly, how do you debug your physics, how do you animate, how do you utilize your interpolation curve, what the heck is a Miku Plus plugin here, what is this, like, there's a lot I can talk about, but I will make separate tutorials on those extra things. But for the time being, though, especially because I've been having many people ask about the manual preparation of an MMD model, I do hope that this tutorial not only shows you the Blender to MMD conversion method, but also showing you, like, actually how do you prepare it afterward, and at least get a start in it. I recommend please look up Learn MMD. If you want to be an MMD master, you have to check out Learn MMD. Like, I'm not kidding, when I was learning MMD, especially with how Learn MMD gotten so much better since my beginning of learning MMD, they've gotten a lot better. So I definitely recommend please check out their article. They have 750 tutorials in this website alone. So I recommend if you want to be an MMD master, I would say read every little article in here and you can become an MMD master. But there's also some tutorials I would prefer from DeviantArt. I'm not sure if some tutorials are still there, but most of the time they are. So definitely check out DeviantArt. I even have a how to Google MMD tutorial. So if you're still confused about MMD stuff, you could definitely learn from that Google tutorial. It goes over how to do that. But anyway, though, if by any chance you've gotten lost in this tutorial, I recommend please, like, recheck your steps, replay the video. You can slow down the video with YouTube. You know, there's a lot you can do, in regard to, like, basically what I taught in this tutorial. It's gonna be pretty much the same way I probably would teach you if you were to personally call me and I have to show you step by step. Like, I'm not kidding. Because I've had multiple people asking me how to prepare an MMD model, and I pretty much show them the exact same way this tutorial shows. And yeah, it's just the only difference is that I'm literally right there, kind of like actively correcting. But this tutorial should hopefully be like a guide that anyone can use instead of me having to be very specific. But either way, if you have any other questions, of course, I mean, you can feel free to ask me. I recommend, again, check out Learn MMD articles before asking, because, again, Learn MMD will probably actually give you the answer. But, of course, if you struggle on Googling or finding something because maybe you haven't learned that vocabulary yet, by all means, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll direct you to what article probably will help you best. If you are still struggling very immensely, I don't mind being on a Discord call helping out, but also note I do have a busy IRL schedule, so not always I can do that. I can't always do that, but besides that, I'll do my best to help you out no matter what. But either way, and feel free to ask for any tutorials, by the way. I'll try to get more MMD tutorials out, but hopefully this one will be pretty good to help you out on your MMD journey. But either way, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys next time, alright? Bye bye! Thank you to all my Snowflake members. In case you don't know, I have YouTube membership, so if you want to further support this channel and what I do, then feel free to join the Snowflake members. Otherwise though, just your support means so much to me and I appreciate every ounce of it. Either way though, with that being said though, hey goodbye everyone! I hope to see you guys next time, okay? Bye bye!